Welcome back, everyone, to another Meals with Michael. Today, we're going to make macaroni and cheese. And not just any macaroni and cheese, but a gourmet 4-cheese mac and cheese. So, we're going to start with something very simple. It's going to be a simple roux. We're doing a butter and flour. Equal parts butter, equal parts flour, equal parts fat, equal parts flour. Create a roux. So we're going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter in a medium saucepan. I've got my heat going already here. You're going to get that melted, and then you add in the butter. So, mac and cheese. There are so many different ways to do mac and cheese. You may have your favorite. I have mine. This one I just thought about today. I was like, oh, I want to do something really better for Valentine's Day, because it's Valentine's Day. So I'm making a mac and cheese. It's a comfort mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is one of those things that you do with love and everything. So Valentine's Day, love, macaroni and cheese. Kind of all works together as far as that goes. So you just let this melt down. Be careful not to burn your butter. And the cheeses that I'm doing a sharp cheddar cheese, doing a fontina cheese, a Guerrero cheese, and an Asiago cheese. Hopefully I'm pronouncing those right. That's how I've always pronounced them anyway. And the reason I'm doing those cheeses is they melt really well together. They make a rich, decadent flavor for it. The Guerrero, I made sure there was a smoky Guerrero in the store, and I was a little concerned about that because I didn't want it to overpower the dish. So I just went with a plain white Guerrero cheese off the things. I don't want anything to overpower or stick out as a flavor on top of another kind of a thing. So that butter is just about melted down. And then we add in equal parts flour. So 3 tablespoons unsalted butter. I always use unsalted for everything that I do because you can always add salt, you can't take it back. So I start always with unsalted butter. And then we add in our flour. And you're just going to whisk that together to create your paste, your roux as it were, if you're from Louisiana. Bring the heat up a little bit. Now I got the flour in there. And that's pretty much what you got, okay? So that's a base. You do a roux for a lot of bases of cream dishes, sauce dishes, and everything. It helps with thickening of the sauce, because otherwise it won't do it on its own. So I have 2 cups of 2% milk fat. There's going to be enough fat from the cheese. So I've got 2% milk fat going on here. And you just want to whisk that in slowly into your roux, breaking up all that flour and butter. So you're creating a nice cream base essentially here. Could you use half and half? Possibly. But I'm using 2% milk because, again, as I said, there's enough fat in this dish. Okay. So now you got to season it. This is a chance to season. You got to season the salt. You don't necessarily season the macaroni. I've got a pot of water over here boiling that I've salted lightly off of that. That'll be for the macaroni. You can use any kind of noodle you really want for this. You can use the bow tie pasta. You can use the wagon wheels. You can use, I can't even think of the name of them, but the orchetti pasta as well. But traditional mac and cheese is elbow. So I've got large elbow macaroni that I'm doing. So that's heated up. And now we're going to add in our seasonings. Our seasonings are 1 teaspoon of onion powder. Okay. Half a teaspoon of salt, and then 1/4 teaspoon each of mustard powder, ground nutmeg, and cayenne pepper. Gotta have a little cayenne. I gotta have a little heat in everything that I do. So just whisk those together. Simple enough. Make sure everything gets all smooth in there. Now earlier I grated all these 4 cheeses. And as I said, they're very high in fat. When I was grating the Gruyere, I just felt the fat in that cheese. And I mixed them together in a bowl, as so. And I mixed, each time I grated one, I put it in the bowl and I mixed it up again so it would get well incorporated, because you're going to do this in partials. So to this mixture, you're going to add approximately 2.5 cups of your cheese mixture. Again, it is 3/4 of a pound of, it's my oven being ready, 3/4 of a pound of sharp cheddar cheese. Then you're going to do 8 full ounces of the Gruyere cheese. Then 4 ounces each of the Fontina and the Asiago. And you're going to grate those in a great box grater that I used. I'm just putting all of this in here, just about 2.5 cups of it. You're going to get a lot of cheese after this, because after all, what is mac and cheese if it's not cheesy? So you need a large bowl when you're doing this in order to mix them all together. So I used the basic box grater for it. Simple enough. If you had a food processor that had the grating device, you could do that. It would probably been a lot quicker, a lot easier to do. So I'm just mixing this up. I'm letting it all melt together. Oh, this is gonna be so good. I'm excited. I love mac and cheese. I love all kinds of mac and cheese. Growing up, I thought mac and cheese was always white, because in my household, my mother made mac and cheese with cottage cheese. So it was macaroni and cottage cheese. It was small curd cottage cheese. Later as an adult, I figured out the small curd was to make sure that you got cottage cheese throughout the dish versus the large curd, which just gives you the flavor and but you don't get the actual cheese. So I thought that's what it was. The first time I actually saw yellow cheddar mac and cheese was when I went to college. I went to the food court area and I got my tray and they had mac and cheese on the menu. I was excited because I was feeling a little homesick. I wanted some mac and cheese. You're going to let this come to a boil. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Okay, I'll get back to my story in a minute. You want to come this to a boil, and then you're going to cover it to keep it warm, reduce it to simmer, keep it warm. In the meantime, you're going to be doing your macaroni, boiling your macaroni, and we'll kind of get back to that in a minute. So finishing story time. I was in the line at the college food area, and I saw mac and cheese on there, and I was going through it. I was excited, and it was a very much cafeteria, so you take your tray and they give you food and everything. So I asked them when I saw what this orange thing was. I said, well, what is that? And they said, it's mac and cheese. And I said, no, it's not. And they laughed, said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. It's yellow. Why is it yellow? And they looked at me like I had lost my mind and just said, because mac and cheese is always yellow. Actually, that's not going to be the case. This is going to be a whitish, yellowish color. So that was my foray into mac and cheese outside of the house. So long story short on that, of course, is that when you're bringing your kids up with different foods, that's what they know. That's what they care for. That's what they associate with home, with comfort foods and things like that. So when they get out into their world and they don't come across that, it can be a little disturbing. So it was a little disturbing. But I actually survived. So this is our base, as I mentioned. I'm going to let this come up to a boil, reduce it to a simmer. I'm going to cover it. I'm waiting for this to boil up over here. This is now getting to a nice boil. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Cover it to keep it warm. And then we'll be back in a few minutes once the macaroni gets itself going. You want to cook it to your liking, so I like a little al dente on my macaroni, so that's what you want to do. And we'll see you in a little bit. All right, welcome back. So our pasta has been cooked to al dente. Now, if you had done fresh pasta, this would have been done in a few minutes. But I did dry pasta, which most of us do, and that took a little bit longer. So you're going to take your pasta, you've drained it, and now you take your mixture that's been warming over here, and you mix it all together. Oh, doesn't that look good? I'm so excited by this. And just get it all together. Everybody's welcome to the party in this case. So you are getting, now you could just eat this the way it is. It would be perfectly fine. But we're doing a baked macaroni, and we're doing something a little more delicate. We're going to use all of this cheese that we did. So I've mixed this together. And now I've taken a 3-quart baking dish that I have sprayed with cooking spray so it won't stick. And you're going to take about half, we're going to see how well this works. You're going to take about half of your pasta and put it into your pan. That's about half. That's a little under half. We'll add a little bit more. There we go. Spread that out. Then you're going to take a generous couple of cups of your cheese that you had done, because you have so much left, and you're going to sprinkle this on into the middle. Ooh. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good. Now, the other day I made a baked chicken. I had chicken breasts, and we ended up having like one breast left over, 1 1/4 after that, because it was a lot of food that we had for dinner. So it was not enough left over for 2 people, too much for 1. So I actually cut up that chicken breast, roasted chicken breast, and I am going to layer that into my middle as well. This was something just on the fly. So you could do this like if you had portobello mushrooms you want to do to keep it more vegetarian, obviously not vegan because of all the cheese and the milk, but you could do portobello in here. I wouldn't do any steaks or anything, but you could do ham, I guess, if you could, off of that, because I've seen ham, mac and cheese. But I am doing chicken. A little extra protein, never hurts anyone. So this is about a couple of cups by the time I cut it up. And the flavor profile of this roasted chicken is not going to cause any problems. It's actually a slightly sweet Hawaiian sauce that was cooked in. So it's just giving it a little bit of sweetness, which I think will be awesome with all the richness of the cheeses and the sauce that's in there. So now you add in the rest of your macaroni, which the cheese is coming together off of that. Nice. Spread that out so it's even. But Michael, there's more cheese. Yes, there's more cheese. We're putting more cheese on top because it's mac and cheese, not just mac. So we're going to take the rest of our cheese mixture. As I said, there's a lot. So there was 3/4 pound of shredded sharp cheddar. There was a full 8 ounces of Gruyere cheese. There was 4 ounces of Fontina cheese and 4 ounces of Asiago. So altogether, that's a good deal amount of cheese. But what is mac and cheese without the cheese? So I also am going to put on the top of this some breadcrumbs. Now, typically I would use panko, but the panko that I have are actually seasoned panko, and I couldn't find just plain panko in the store. Why do I use panko? Panko is crispier, gives you a crispier crust than regular breadcrumbs, but you do what you got, and you do what you have to. And anything cooking is not necessarily a science; it's more of an art. Baking is a science. You have to do it right for it to come out correctly. But cooking is more of an art. So I have here about a cup of breadcrumbs. And you're just going to sprinkle those on top. Or actually cover it. But I'm doing it in a sprinkling method. So I have been preheating my oven to 350 degrees. I think you heard the beep earlier in this episode. Went off. And I'm going to bake this for a half hour at 350 until the cheese is all bubbly and the breadcrumbs get a little crisp and everything. So I actually cleaned the oven yesterday. So I don't want cheese in the bottom of my oven. So I am going to put this onto a baking sheet or actually in another pan probably, depending on what size baking sheet I need for this, so that in case anything bubbles over, it goes into the pan and not onto my oven floor that I just cleaned yesterday. So that's kind of the idea. So this seems like a lot of breadcrumb, but really once all this gets bubbly and everything, it's going to create a nice crust, which is what you're looking for. Keep on going. Almost there. This is going to last for several days. This can last in your refrigerator 3 to 4 days. I am probably going to end up freezing it because, well, there's only 2 of us, and this will last quite a while and everything. So this is the pre-baked product behind things. Now, if you wanted to make this ahead of time, let's say I wanted to prepare it, I wanted to bake it for tomorrow, because this kind of mac and cheese is best when it's also warmed and everything. It really reheat it. Okay, I'll reheat, but it's best when it's all fresh. You could take it to this point, cover it, put it into your refrigerator for the next day, bring it out to room temperature, and then bake it. But we're going to do a 350-degree oven for half an hour, and we'll see what it looks like after that. We're going to have a gourmet 4-cheese mac and cheese, folks. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be good. All right, welcome back. So it's been about a half hour, and I had this on the bottom rack for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then for the last 5 minutes, I moved it to the top rack to try to crisp up the breadcrumbs a bit more off things and try to get a little more crust going for this. So I think we're about ready to take this out. Let's see how it turned out. I have not done this yet, so hopefully it's good. Oh, it smells good. Smells like comfort. Oh, yes. So you could leave that probably a little bit longer to get a little browner, but I think it's actually pretty good. There we go. You can hear it bubbling and sizzling, and you can smell all the cheeses and the seasonings that are in that and everything. So you want this to cool off a little bit, but we're just going to crack into it right now just to test it. So, oh yes, listen to that. That is beautiful. So, as a reminder, we did this with 4 cheeses. We've got some chicken in here, which I think turned out to be a good idea. So I got a little bit of chicken, a little bit of macaroni, and we'll see how it turned out. The 4 cheeses work really well together. Remember, we have a sharp cheddar, we have Fontina, we have Asiago, and we have Guerrero off of that. We did a roux with some milk and some nutmeg, a little cayenne pepper, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of mustard, all those together, whisked them together, cooked our macaroni, put them together off of that, added about 2.5 cups of the cheese mixture, half, then into your pan, your 3-quart pan, that's sprayed with a cooking spray to keep it from sticking from that side of it. Layered in more cheese, in this case also the chopped chicken, the rest of the macaroni, the rest of the cheese, the breadcrumbs, and baked it at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes on a lower rack, and then brought it up to the top rack to crisp up the crust a little bit. So this will stay in your refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. You can also freeze it up if you want to, and that's probably what's going to happen here, because this is a lot to eat for 2 people in 3 to 4 days. But this is a great macaroni and cheese. It's not your everyday weeknight macaroni and cheese because the cheeses are pretty expensive. So this is a special occasion type of mac and cheese. So once again, hope you've enjoyed Meals with Michael. Be sure to subscribe, tell your friends about it, and we'll see you next time.